Are you ready?
Good news, everyone!
I'm the surprise in your cereal box. I'm
great! Everybody else sucks!
I said, are you ready?
Yes, sir, random kid I just met.
It's Ciely.
Hooray! People are paying attention to me.
That's right! You're always blaming me!
So, my reputation exceeds me.
It's time to check the link.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
You know what? You just made the list!
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn!
What is up, you ducks? It's All in Football. Week 6 is here on FTN Fantasy. Code All In. Get you 20% off. Where you can find stepmom Lauren and sometimes her cat. And if you want to check out everything over at The Athletic, go check the link. As I always say, there you go. Boom, done. Welcome, everybody. And I just realized with that intro, Are You Ready? The DX 25th anniversary was last night on WWE Raw, if anybody saw that. It's a little uninspiring. They just kind of came out and made old people jokes. But anyway, so DX is back. We're back. We're going to talk waivers. Lauren, did you, like a few people I tweeted about last night, I said, hey, somebody was up by 30 and facing only Travis Kelce and thought they were good, and they were not. But I also got a few others out there, including Phil Mike, who was up 80 and facing Adams, Mahomes, and Kelce and was not good.
Oh, yeah, no.
Anything like, do you have in your mind, do you have your worst bad beat? Do you have your worst, interesting enough, I have a person in my home league, Mike Schoenrock. If you're even watching, call out to him. He's won the last 2 weeks by less than a point in 2 weeks in a row. Same team.
Oof. Yeah, I've actually been kind of lucky so far, knock on wood, with any bad beats, which has been good. I was down like 80 points going into last night and still lost, even though I had Travis Kelce starting. So there's that. But,
well, if it was only Travis Kelce, he wasn't going to score you 80.
Well, one can hope.
One could hope. We are going to do what we always do, Lauren. We're going to go through worries, waivers, and a lot more. Here's the question for you, though. Are you more interested to talk about Ken Walker or Taysom Hill to start?
Oh, my God. Can we do both? Because it has to be Taysom Hill.
Well, no. I mean, Ken, Taysom, Walker, Hill?
Yeah. Let's just do it. We do have to talk about both of them no matter what. But if I'm going to have my druthers, I'm going Taysom Hill is, I think, who we should open the show up with. Because, of course.
That almost kind of sounded like Texas Walker Ranger. Taysom Walker Hill. There you go.
Taysom Walker Hill, yeah. He's like, is that his son or something?
He definitely shot anybody he was facing with his 6-bullet chamber over there. Because actually, I guess technically it wasn't 6, but scored a ton of touchdowns because he ran for 3, threw 1, and infuriated everybody facing Taysom Hill because this shouldn't be happening. But I will say this. We are going to talk Ken Walker. He's the more important one. But for all intents and purposes, here's what I said with Meanie yesterday, Lauren, to see if you agree. And you wanted to talk about Taysom Hill. Unless you roster Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews, and that's it. I just made a list because that's it. That's the end of the list. Everybody else is in fair play for Taysom Hill. I probably don't drop Dallas Goedert. George Kittle's a little bit concerning, and we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But where I said for Meanie is he's in that group with Tyler Higbee is a floor, Zach Ertz is a floor, David Njoku is ceiling or bust. Everett was ceiling or bust till Donald Parham came back. Hawkinson is ceiling or bust. He's in that conversation, which makes him a top 10 as I bang my mic. Makes it a top 10 tight end because he's got a 30-point ceiling and a 2-point floor.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, I can't reiterate that anymore. So I just actually got finished writing a waiver wire article this morning. And one of the options there, I think in sleeper leagues, he's rostered in like 38%, and that's it. And if you had him on your bench probably, unless you were super desperate. But especially with the Darren Waller, I don't know, that man cannot stay healthy. I mean, he played 8 snaps and then left with a hamstring injury, and it's so frustrating dealing with this position. So yeah, you got to go for ceiling on these guys, right? I mean, it's crazy.
That's what we're doing at the tight end position anyway. Is we're chasing ceiling because unless, like I said, if you want to plug in Ertz or Higbee and be like, hey, I got my 8 to 12 points every single week, that's cool because then you get that floor. But if you're chasing anything else to tight, I'm going to play a game, Lauren. I'm going to see. I'm going to give you a couple out of the gate and see if you can name the rest of the top 12 tight ends as of today.
God.
How about I know, exactly. So Kelsey, Andrews, we know. You're going to throw out Hawkinson. He's there. We're going to throw out Goddard and Ertz. You know they're there. So I just gave you 5. Let's see if you can get 7 more without getting 2 strikes. You only get 2 because we don't want this to last all day. So 2 strikes. See if you can get the. Can you get the other 7? There's a couple layups here. We're talking about one of them.
Oh, well, yeah. Or Taysom Hill. Did you already say, he's out?
No, he's 4th on the year.
Yeah,
he's 4th at tight end. 4th. All right, come on. Let's go. Let's see if you can get the rest.
I'm going to take a wild guess here because I literally just got done writing about it, but back-to-back touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. Hayden Hurst?
Hayden Hurst is 12th. Just barely.
Damn.
No, I said a tight end 1, top 12. You got one.
Okay,
so you got one.
There you go.
Keep going. Let's
All
go.
Right.
Rapid fire here.
Oh God. Okay, I'm gonna cheat here.
Oh, then we're just gonna move on.
Yeah. Well, of course I'm gonna cheat. Why not? More like Cox. Is he in there?
No, he's not. Njoku, I mentioned. Higbee, I mentioned. I just gave you a couple. Jared Oliver is still there. Freiermuth is there, and Walt Disney. Walt Disney.
That's the one I was trying to think of and couldn't think of. So I tried to go find his name really quick on the list, and I didn't have.
Conklin
has
already fallen out of the. Conklin's fallen out of the top 12. Darren Waller is 14th, and a good friend Kyle Pitts. He's all the way down at 25.
Oh.
Well, here's where I'm going with this, Lauren. If you pick up, 2 questions, I guess, really. If you have Kyle Pitts, do you pick up Taysom Hill, and do you play Taysom Hill until you see Kyle Pitts get right?
Yeah. If that's an option, I don't see why not. Because if you have Kyle Pitts, you're likely not looking at a winning record. So you're going to have to do something to, if not stack up some wins, at least stack up some points. Like, you cannot keep getting these crap games from Kyle Pitts week in and week out, but unfortunately, you really can't drop him. I mean, you can if you want to be spicy. But yeah, it's super frustrating. It's really, 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 really frustrating. And you and I both loved Kyle Pitts heading into this season. And this is just turning out to be a disaster.
This is
massively disastrous.
I mean, we're talking about, you just mentioned Hayden Hurst, his streaming options being Hurst, Irv Smith, Evan Ingram, who's kind of a floor play most weeks, but he has the potential to get a 1 or 2, as he has. If he would have caught that touchdown that 1 week, it would have offset it, but
yeah, that's the story of his life, though.
I know. And now we're talking about, this is how bad tight end is. We're talking about Cade Otton. And deservedly so. Otton's a nice tight end. He's a nice player, but this is where we are. So if you get a chance to go get Taysom Hill, go get him. But do not go get him in lieu of picking up Ken Walker. For everybody that asked that in the no. Ken Walker, definitively, Lauren, top 20 running back going forward. Agree or disagree?
Agree. 100% agree. And I think that was going to be inevitable no matter what, but especially with the season-ending leg brokenness that Rashad Penny has, which is so unfortunate. He has been through so much adversity, and he's clawed his way back to relevance, and then now this is, it just stinks. But yeah, I mean, especially now, it's undisputed.
Undisputed, yeah. Mm-hmm. You made me think of another wrestling. It's an undisputed era, by the way. I just noticed my shirt. Just threw it, the blue shell. You just made me think. That's like last night. Everybody in the game. You're like, hey, I'm cruising along in first place, and then here comes that damn blue shell and blows you up right before you can finish the race. And that was Travis Kelce for everybody. All right, so
25
Ken Walker,
yards,
touchdowns, baby. Which. I hate that I always say, let's sidebar. But I did. That should be my next T-shirt, let's sidebar. I will say this. My home league and all the leagues I try to play in, for everybody out there, I've said this a lot, Lauren. People get frustrated by the touchdown variance, and I know 6 makes sense because 6 is 6. That's what you get in the NFL. But we don't give 6 for quarterback, right? No,
it's getting more and more popular now to do 6 for a quarterback.
Yeah, it's still 5%. That's like dynasties getting more popular. Yes, people love it.
Half of my leagues are 6 point.
Well, because you're in the fantasy community, that's what I was about to say. Superflex and all that. We got our scope is like this. So remember, we're still talking about the fact that Ken Walker's on waivers. We're still talking about when we get to the wide receivers that Alec Pierce and George Pickens are on waivers. There's a general community that's not as honed in. So where I say this is, since it's 4 is a random number somebody picked, like, oh, let's give them 2 points fewer for a passing touchdown. This is what I do. Blanket 5 points per touchdowns for everybody. Quarterbacks, defenses, running backs, wide receiver, everybody just 5. It's a nice little round half number. I know it's not round, but it's the 5-10. It's the 5-0 number. You get what I'm saying there.
Well, it's not even. Round. It's round.
Yeah,
it's a round number.
Even shot. Yeah, you can get 2 as a 0. Anyway, it's the 5 zeros. It's the 0 5s. But on top of that, I also give more for rushing, receiving, passing. Like, I boost that up because we're trying to predict the best we can. Yards are more predictable than touchdowns, and I'm not completely devaluing touchdowns. I'm just bringing a more balance. So Travis Kelce still goes bananas last night because that's still 20 just on touchdowns alone. But to go back to the days where, like, hey, Evan Ingram, a tight end, 1 5-yard catch for a touchdown, hurts and offsets a lot less than somebody who went out there and caught 60 yards and didn't get a touchdown, and that's why.
Yeah, makes sense.
So your thumbs up of approval?
I mean, I understand it. I still don't mind the 4 points for a quarterback because the odds of a quarterback throwing more touchdowns than someone catching a touchdown is higher. So I get why quarterbacks are only at 4 generally, as opposed to everyone else scoring 6. Because if you're a
continuity,
passing,
you said why not 6? Also, like 5 across the board for everybody.
Sure, you do you. I don't really care.
So, doing for that reason, let's talk. If you are in a league with Brian Robinson, I'm trying to think of who else might be on your roster. Like a Brian Robinson type, Antonio Gibson, same situation. J.D. McKissick, these kind of guys who you might have started them at some point. Like, how far are you going to drop Ken Walker, to get Ken Walker at this point?
Yeah, I know it sounds blasphemous because of how well he's played so far, but I think depending on obviously what my roster looks like, that's always a caveat, everybody.
Right.
But
right.
if you have to, I would drop Antonio Gibson to pick up someone like Brian Robinson. If you're in a league that does not score returning points, that is where we're trending right now. In fact, Ron Rivera came out and even said that. Likely, Antonio Gibson will be returning kicks and punts coming up this week because Brian Robinson has returned. This is kind of like replacing him, essentially. Now, it may take a few weeks to get there, but I don't mind doing that, especially if you need some upside and you need volume. I 100%, I'm okay with that.
Would you drop what?
I'd rather have you trade him than dropping him. But
who, Gibson?
Getting him out of your roster now.
Somebody's going to give you a box of Twizzlers at this point.
Yeah, well, you can bundle him in with something else just to kind of sweeten it.
No, honestly, Lauren, no. Here's what I say. Honestly, I think it's worse. I think people are going to see you tag on Antonio Gibson and actually hesitate to make the trade when they see him tagged on. Like, I think that's
possible
how
too.
That's how bad it is right now. Like, Antonio Gibson is like almost. It sounds crazy. He almost has negative trade value. Like, it's almost like people will see the 2-for-1 and be like, I don't want the 2 side of it. Where if you just would have went 1-for-1 or like a 2-for-2 with 2, or like a wide receiver running back combination, like it almost makes it worse.
You can always try. If it doesn't, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm just saying.
Would you drop Cam Akers for Ken Walker if he's your
Yes.
only one you could cut? Okay.
Yep.
So here's the bigger question. Would you rather keep a Cam Akers? Would you rather keep a flyer at wide receiver like let's say a Devin Duvernay, who we know is kind of like limited because if Bateman comes back, when Bateman comes back, the value kind of goes like, are you playing this 1 to 2 week wide receiver play as a 3-4 and dropping him, or are you dropping the Cam Akers?
I'm dropping the Cam Akers. I honestly think that Devin Duvernay does better, at least by the eyeball test when Rashad Bateman is in, because now you have this kind of 3-headed monster between Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay. So I'm all about that Devin Duvernay life. I think he's a great player. So for me, in that specific example, I will drop a Cam Akers to keep a hold of Devin Duvernay.
Here's a trade scenario for you. This one's really out there. Damian Harris is officially going to miss
Who do I target?
Weeks. No. He's going to miss multiple weeks. Multiple, according to Tom Pelissero. So, would you rather have Cam Akers or Damian Harris?
Ooh, I'll take Cam Akers over Damian Harris.
Okay. That's certainly fair. All right, so let's talk Brian Robinson, who walked right back in, and now snap count was only in the 20% range, but he did lead in carries. But this is a committee, Lauren. So Antonio Gibson, yes, is going to be on the return team, and yes, going to be involved in that area. But Brian Robinson with 3 people involved. How excited are you for him? Because I generally don't like anybody in a 3-headed backfield. This is why don't go after Miami Dolphins running backs. Well, here's the good news. Raheem Mostert, as a sidebar, there you go, is not involved in the committee anymore. That's out the window. But when he was, this is why. So how excited are you for Brian Robinson? Because I'm kind of like, yeah, I'll go pick him up, but I'm not going to go crazy.
I'm going crazy. I'm excited about it. And the reason I'm excited about him so much is because I have zero trust in Carson Wentz. And I don't think Ron Rivera does either. So what else are they going to do in that offense? Rely on him throwing interceptions, or are they going to give it to their committee backfield? And frankly, Brian Robinson is the best out of all of them. And I just think it's a matter of time as the weeks continue, as he starts getting more comfortable being in the NFL and being healthy again, mentally and physically. I think he's just going to take over. And I don't think that this is going to be a true split committee backfield. I think this will become Brian Robinson's team, and they're going to be relying on him because they cannot do it with their quarterback.
So I disagree. And just like you,
we should do a bet.
Chase Edmonds love. Well, I already won the Chase Edmonds one. Do you want to double down? You want double or nothing?
I'm still hanging on. I mean, he's like a insurance policy for me. I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, but that's
like an insurance policy for me now.
That's not a like winning the bet. That's not even like splitting the bet. It's definitely. So you're up for double or nothing.
We only do it at the end of the year. We don't do it like week to week. Otherwise, you'd be doing a victory lap or a victory pout.
Yeah. I'll do a victory pout about somebody later in the show. I'll immediately take the victory pout, if you're going to call it that. I actually like that. Victory lap and victory pout. Yeah. I will do a victory pout right now. No, Brian Robinson, I want as the lead of the backfield. I just don't want to mess. Like what my point was is I'm not going to go crazy for him. Like I'm not going to.
Well, I'm not going to take him over Ken Walker, if that's what you're asking.
No, but would you take? I'm glad like you kind of like made me think of like let's bring up some names. How about would you go Kareem Hunt or Brian Robinson?
Oh, that is a really good one.
Okay, well no. You don't even have to answer. That's my point. That's where I put him. I put him in like if Cordero Patterson's healthy. Like it's Brian Robinson, Cordero Patterson, Kareem Hunt, those kind of names if Damian Harris wasn't going to miss time, Ramondre Stevenson. I think that's where he belongs, and I think that clarifies everything.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I think that's fair. Yeah, I 100% agree. Yep.
Okay, so then we don't need to make a bet because we're on the same page. How aggressive would you be on Eno Benjamin if James Conner was officially missing time? We don't have word yet, but he left the game. Darrell Williams left the game.
That's I kind of feel like
this. See, this is the problem. Is I kind of feel like this is a if-but situation that we kind of do a lot of times. So let's play it both ways. James Conner. Well, you can't really play it both ways because if James Conner and Darrell Williams are healthy, you're not going that crazy for Eno Benjamin. So let's say, how aggressive would you be on Eno if Conner and Williams are out for 1 week? How aggressive would you be if they were out for 4 weeks?
I think it's going to depend. If I'm the James Conner manager, I think I may be a little bit more aggressive, simply because of my running back options are likely going to be a little bit more limited. So I think I might have to out of necessity, but I don't like it and I don't want to. It just feels dirty and gross. Because I know, Eno Benjamin, whatever, he hasn't eclipsed 8 rushing yards yet. And he happened to get a touchdown this week. Or last week, however you want to say it. So it's gross. The whole situation stinks. And James Conner is really, really upsetting me. But, if I could avoid the situation, I would. But I may not be able to. But it's all going to depend on the health of those two, because it could be Darrell Williams next week. If he's healthy. All
right, well, then let me give you a straight-up scenario. If we knew that James Conner and actually, what is their bye? Isn't Arizona like a week 14 bye? Aren't they one of the teams?
I think it's a late one. I just looked at it.
Or like week 13 or something like that. So there's 2 in week 13. They're week 13. And then there's about 17 teams in week 14, which is going to be wonderful for all this. Don't plan right now, but start thinking about that come like week 8, 9, 10. Yeah, it's going to week 4. NFL doesn't even care. They're trying to mess with us in fantasy. They should be thankful. Anybody was watching that freaking night game again this week. But anyway, point being, if we knew James Conner was out for 3 weeks, Eno Benjamin or Tyler Algier?
Ooh, Tyler Algier.
Okay. You're not worried about Cordell Patterson coming back? And Damian Williams potentially coming back? See, this is what I say. There's been plenty of reports, and I kind of believe it as well, is they didn't take Algier for a future plan and be like, well, we're just going to stick with Damian Williams, who's on he's not the future. It's a 1-year contract. He's done.
Yes.
So I think the plan is to see what you get of Algier and Cordell Patterson going forward. So that's why I'm with you. But admittedly, Algiers look a little plottish the past 2 games. So that's why I was asking.
No, yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's not pretty. It's not sexy looking, but I'm going to take the volume there. And he started to do better, started to play better, and he did play well when Cordell Patterson was on the field. So I'm not so concerned when it comes to Tyler Algier as I am for Eno Benjamin. I don't trust Eno Benjamin. We've tried this experiment before and it failed. And like just because it succeeded once on 8 rush attempts, I just don't feel good about running to the waiver wire and being like, Eno's the new thing.
You know who Eno Benjamin is?
Oh God, who?
He's just another Chase Edmonds.
Oh gosh, don't besmirch my Chase.
Hey, look, there's plenty. We're gonna get to him in a second, but Najee Harris officially, like, there's been a lot of bust this year. Cam Akers, for all intents and purposes, bust, but 4th, 5th round. Allen Robinson, bust, but 4th, 5th, 6th round. Najee Harris, bust, 1st round.
Yeah.
Mid 1st round. Conversations of should he be in the top 4 because the volume, and look at all the pass receptions similar to Christian McCaffrey. We don't care that he's on one of the trashiest trash teams of all trashiness, but Najee Harris, similar situation. Honestly, you could even say the Steelers look a little bit better now that they went to Kenny Pickett, and yet Najee Harris does not. It's 2 weeks in a row, Lauren, where Jaylen Warren has looked better. Now, again, his volume is not the same as Najee Harris's. And if you look at the metrics, he's getting almost twice, actually, I think it's almost 3 times as much yards before contact as Harris is, which could be like how defenses are playing the two and understand. But all that being said, how concerned are we that Mike Tomlin starts to turn to something he doesn't generally do and is a timeshare? And now Najee Harris is potentially droppable at this point.
I don't know if he's droppable. I mean, there's too much draft capital that goes into someone like Najee. Again, I think this could be a trade situation, or it's just, you gotta hope. I don't know. But you know what's interesting is before the season began, I would have said, no way, there's no possible way Mike Tomlin would ever do something like that. That goes against everything that Mike Tomlin ever stands for, does in his history. And then we see what both you and I called. If not, I know I did. I'm pretty sure you did too. I said by week 5, Kenny Pickett will be the starting quarterback for that team. He'll probably come in halftime at week 4, and look at what happened. That exact situation actually played out. And I was saying that almost tongue in cheek, but as in this likely will happen out of necessity because Trubisky might get hurt in quotation marks and then whatever. But no, he meaning Mike Tomlin, is starting to go against Mike Tomlin-esque type things. So could we actually be looking at a committee backfield between Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, which is unthinkable prior to this season, but now it doesn't seem that weird. So I don't know, we could. And maybe this will be good. And the reason why I kind of do think that this may happen is because not only is Najee Harris facing just a terrible offensive line, and he's not looking very good either because he's got that Liz Frank injury. Maybe they're just trying to keep him healthy. And that is really the best way to do so in terms of real football, is having your good RB2 coming in there and taking a little bit of a load off. That sucks for us in fantasy, but we've seen so many NFL teams go in that direction and be successful. So there's that. It just stinks for fantasy purposes, but no matter what, Warren needs to be on your roster.
Yeah, he does. And I will say one positive, the matchup a little bit concerning for Najee Harris this week and the Bucs. But at the same thing, Bucs just 2 weeks ago got gashed by Edwards-Helaire and Pacheco. So I think, they're back and forth. Looking at Harris, I think this goes back to what people fall on as crutch argument, but I'm going to make it for a point here for a second to say, like, the crutch argument is they're going to stack the box, so he's never going to get anything good, and that's the crutch argument, because it's not an all or nothing situation. Stack boxes can actually be good for running backs because all you have to do is make one level miss, and then you're gone. Derrick Henry's done it a million times. Najee Harris used to do it. Dalvin Cook, like, these running backs can do it. Saquon Barkley's doing it right now. Stack the box, that's fine, because see ya, I get to the second level, and I'm in one guy miss instead of a second level guy. On the flip side, the thing is that's usually offset by volume and at least having some respect in the offense. I think Trubisky was killing him. I think the offensive line isn't helping Harris get past. Well, see, the thing is when you try to get past that first level, you can't be hit full on head first. You got to be able to break an arm tackle or skirt through. The problem is the offensive line is not doing him favors. However, similar to the Bengals, it started to turn a little bit. I'm not saying this is a top 10 offensive line. I'm not saying it's even middle of the pack, but it's getting some semblance. So I do have hope for Harris. I still think Harris is a top 20 running back, but going forward, would you say Dameon Pierce or Najee Harris?
Oh, God, that's a really good one. Both, oh, shit. Pardon my language. That's how hard this is. So, because I want to go Dameon Pierce based on how I watched him run, based on what I saw him do. But I'm going to go down to what I think is going to happen with that offense, right? Davis Mills, love him, but he does not have the moxie of a Kenny Pickett. And I think if the reason I even bring that up is because it gives juice to an offense. So if there's one intangible that I think that could be in Najee Harris's favor over Dameon Pierce, I think you should have both of them, to be honest.
Right.
I think I'm going to give the nod to Najee Harris on this one because of Kenny Pickett, and I think what he is able to bring to the table for that offense. But literally, that's it. It's not any kind of numbers. It's not statistics. It's not data.
It's moxie.
It's moxie is what Kenny Pickett has. I'm picking fights with ginormous 300-pound defenders. Like, what are you doing?
So I'll give you one who might be facing the return of a running back who I have said many times for everybody out there, Elijah Mitchell is not guaranteed to step back into the lead. Shanahanigans happens when somebody's given the opportunity, most of the times by injury. That's why we get frustrated, is because it's like, oh my God. Speaking of Raheem Mostert, he was the guy because he was the next one up, and then he got hurt. But we were all excited about the next one. Shanahanigans, I've said this before, is mostly because of injuries. So I say that to say this. The door opened for Jeff Wilson because of an injury, who was also supposed to be the one up last year. Jeff Wilson, everybody was going crazy for him. And then he got hurt, which happened to be Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell is getting close, a few more weeks, and he's back. I don't think he necessarily steps right back and kicks Jeff Wilson to the side because Jeff Wilson is working. Now, Tevin Coleman, everybody stop. It was just,
yes,
he spelled reception, touchdown. He spelled the little, and that's the one thing about Shanahan is he does like to use somebody completely different for the few passing opportunities he gives. And then it was a blowout when Tevin Coleman got the rushing touchdown. So this is why I'm setting this all up to say Jeff Wilson or Najee Harris.
Jeff Wilson.
Miles Sanders or Najee Harris?
Oh, God. I don't like Miles Sanders because I know what he's capable of not doing. I'm still gonna lean Najee Harris on this one. I'm gonna go Najee Harris over Miles Sanders.
Okay. So you got a pretty good range. It sounds like he's still top 20 for you. And I mean, but that's not what we drafted.
I'm like you, though. I still have hope for him as well. It's just one of those weird situations where we've had bad matchups, changing of the guard at quarterback. There's so many things that are going up against him. Basically, I want to say poor offensive line. It's like rookie offensive line, right? It's like didn't really know what they were doing for the first couple of weeks. They needed a little bit of time to warm up. It's like when I try to play cornhole, I'm terrible for the first game, and then I'm en fuego afterwards. Just needed a little warm up.
En fuego, stepmom Lauren from 1993. Thank you very much for the en fuego
Third
reference.
Grade, baby.
Do you have any interest in stashing Joshua Kelly, Dontrell Hilliard, P. Ryan? Rashad, I mean, if you have space, but
if I had space, yes. No, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to.
Rashad White, Zamir White. There's not a name that sticks out in that group for you. That's like, ooh, the Joshua Kelly one a little bit for me.
I mean, yeah. If I'm going to have any kind of insurance policy out of all of those, I think I would do the Josh Kelly simply because he and Sony Michel are getting work in between the 20s, in addition to some goal line looks as well. This is Austin Eckler's backfield. Thank goodness that hasn't been muddied any further. But yeah, I think he's, especially if you're in a deeper league, I think that he can be a flex start if you're desperate. So out of all of those, yes, Joshua Kelly is someone that I would not mind having, but I'm not going to try to force it.
Okay. So to start at the top of the wide receivers. Real quick. Do you have any problem with me suggesting to dump these if you need the roster space, obviously, for wide receiver help? But like McKissick, committee, I'm out on that, especially if Antonio Gibson is going to be involved in the passing game as he is. I'm just like, I generally don't want a McKissick Hines type of player, but especially don't want one in the committee. So I'm dumping McKissick if I need it. I am dumping Hines. It has nothing to do with the concussion, but Jonathan Taylor, that was a 1 week play. Like if Jonathan Taylor goes down again, okay, go chase. But I'm not going to hold on to Hines if I need it. Again, he basically falls into those backups that we just mentioned. And then Darrell Henderson. And it's not because I believe in Cam Akers at this point. It's just that he's obviously not going to be the guy unless Akers gets hurt. And I actually think that's the only way we get clarification in that backfield. Is there any of those three? Is there any of those three you would want to try to convince me to hold on to?
I would still try to hang on to Darrell Henderson. I think that Sean McVay's being a little tricky with what he wants to do because they're off to such a slow start that it just what he's doing with those two running backs is a little odd. It started out odd and it's continuing odd. In fact, everything that's going on with the Rams is not pretty. So the only one that I would hesitate and I would like to hang on to if I had the room is Darrell Henderson. The other two can go.
Okay. Well, let's move on to wide receiver. So I mentioned before. Wait, what did you say about what was it? The crap lap or something like that? What did you say instead of the victory lap? Oh, victory pout. No, victory lap. And then you said what was it?
Victory
Something pout. Oh, victory
lap
pout.
and victory pout.
I'm gonna say crap lap. I like that better. I just came up
The crap lap.
Victory lap and the crap lap. There you go.
Like
There you go. The crap lap I will take is holding out hope for Elijah Moore. I was thinking, and hey, look, Zach Wilson, loved them at times last year. A lot of it came with Mike White too, but a lot of it came with Zach Wilson too. And that Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson were going to be a formidable 1-2. The problem is it's a formidable 1-2-3. And in the 2 games Wilson's been under center, Zach Wilson, Corey Davis has been his number 1.
I love Corey Davis.
And so the thing where I bring this up and say is that Elijah Moore, I think, is droppable now. I don't want to, and I would drop Allen Robinson first. I would drop others that you might still be holding. Juju Smith-Schuster, I think, is now in this conversation, unfortunately, because the volume was supposed to help him, but it's just been a mess out there. And the reason I say this, Lauren, is because if Alec Pierce and George Pickens are still out there, you're dropping Juju Smith-Schuster. You're dropping Elijah Moore. You're dropping Allen. No, you would not drop Elijah Moore for Pickens and Pierce.
Nope, I won't do it. I won't do it. I have more faith in Zach Wilson than I do Kenny Pickett, A. And B, this was a bad matchup against Miami. Don't forget, this is Zach Wilson's second game back. He still has a few things he's got to work on. And unfortunately, I think the 3 in this offense is Garrett Wilson. I think the one volume PPR option here is Corey Davis. He loves targeting Corey Davis, but his downfield threat is Elijah Moore. And I just think it's going to take maybe 1 or 2 more games for that to happen. But I'm holding out hope for Elijah Moore. Call me sentimental, but
no, I'm not dropping Elijah Moore for Duvernay. I'm not dropping him for Josh Reynolds, who's about a 1 or 2 more week play. But for Alec Pierce and George Pickens, 1 billion%.
Yeah, I guess if you're facing that particular situation,
well, that was the whole point here.
But you're doing
the whole setup here was how is Alec Pierce and George Pickens still out there, and that was the whole setup to this specific.
I was trying to look at some numbers there, so I didn't realize that particular one. I don't know, because I feel like the George Pickens is just as much of a question mark to me as Elijah Moore is. Like, that's what it looks like to me. So I don't know why I would put more faith in George Pickens than I would into Elijah Moore.
Here's why. Because the Jets 1-2-3, the talent gap for Pickens to Claypool is like this. That's why.
Yeah, but there's still Deontay Johnson, who he is targeting just massively.
13 times, and then hold on, 13 times, and Pickens still got his. Pickens was still the leading wide receiver again. That's why.
Right, because Deontay Johnson couldn't get his dang second foot down inside.
No, but he's still 13 targets, and Pickens still got his.
I'm going Elijah Moore. I'm going
to put out. We're gonna have not that you guys decide, but you know what? We don't usually do a poll on something we debate. So we'll put the tweet out for the show, and then I'll follow it up. Would you rather take Pickens or Elijah Moore going forward? I think I'm going to destroy you because.
Oh, of course you are, because everyone loves their rookies. They're like, rookie wide receiver.
Well, he's only his second year.
No.
I was going to say recency. I was going to say recency bias because of the past.
Yeah, of course, whatever. But no, I don't really care what anyone else says. That's why I do this job.
Here's the question: do you think
anyone else says, and I can put
up with all of you? Over under 20%? Do you think you get that your number is going to be over?
Oh, I am way under, dude. I'll be happy if I get 5.
Now I'm super curious. Michael Gallup, Jacoby Myers, Nico Collins. You can only pick one. Who would you pick up?
Jacoby Myers.
For the floor play, or
it's for the floor. It really is, and I'm not doing this for that huge ceiling look. That's someone that you would take like an Elijah Moore or the George Pickens. But not only has Mac Jones come out and said that Jacoby Myers is his guy, which is great, but we've had Bailey Zappi, who made him a thing, which is really cool. I like Jacoby Myers. I think he has the safest floor out of the three of those, with the potential for touchdown looks, which I'll take, because you're putting him in at flex. You're not, or possibly wide receiver 3, if that's what your roster looks like. I'm so sorry. But I think he has potential. I think he's safer than the other two.
Okay. Here's what I'll say about that as well is I like Jacoby Myers, but I like a little bit more of Michael Gallup, especially with Dak coming back. And here, here's the other thing. Tyquan Thornton just made his debut for the Patriots and was already the third wide receiver. Not that I think this is all of a sudden going to destroy Jacoby Myers, but they finally might have an answer for a number 2. And if that pulls off of Myers' floor, which that's what he always is. He's just a floor guy because he rarely ever scores touchdowns, although he does occasionally now, unlike a couple of years ago where he scored 0.
Oh, my God.
That's a little bit why. How about in this? This is kind of like an interesting... What's 5? I was about to say quartet. No, quintet. Yeah, this is a quintet. 5 guys. Because you have a couple temporary solutions, you have a couple looking forward, and then you have a couple 3s. So what you have here is you have Duvernay and Josh Reynolds, who are temporary because the guys are coming back. You have Tyler Boyd and Corey Davis, who are anywhere between 1 and 3 on their teams. And then you have Jahan Dotson, who is going to come back in a few weeks, who was the top red zone threat for Carson Wentz. If you had to pick only one of those 5, who would you stash of those 5?
Dyami Brown, babe. No, I'm kidding. Totally kidding. That's a tough one, because I would have to really go, what do I need more on my roster, right? Do I want a safer floor? In that case, I'd go someone like a Jacoby Myers. Do I want to have some high upside? In that case, I would go Dotson. I do like Dotson and what he's been able to do. Of course, there is the Terry McLaurin situation there, but he's boom or bust, so all of that is pretty tough. By the way, I've had so many questions about Dyami Brown. Don't.
Oh no, well, those are temporary, big bust plays. Big bust plays. Big.
He had great. His one-handed touchdown was phenomenal, but that's about it.
So similar to what the role that Dotson kind of brings here, but no, Terry McLaurin for me falls into the Elijah Moore conversation. They're the 3s now on their teams.
Yeah, it makes sense.
McLaurin's like, hey, let me go get 70 yards. And then that's it at this point. I actually really thought, and people know I wrote this up as Terry McLaurin. He still had an okay day, but I thought it was a great chance for him to get a final touch, or his first touchdown, because he could fill that role left by Jahan Dotson. And it didn't really happen. They didn't even have a single red zone target because they scored from outside of there with their passes. So how about these options? I'm going to bring up Kahlil. Hips don't lie, Shakira, because everybody knows I loved him so much, and I had him as a sneaky play, and I played him last week actually in a few leagues. But Isaiah McKenzie, I want to talk about the situation on its own. Do you think there's a world where Shakir has supplanted McKenzie as the 3, or do you think McKenzie comes back and doesn't get Wally pipped?
That's such a good question. I actually do believe in Kahlil Shakir a hair more than I do Isaiah McKenzie. I know. I think that world does exist. Receiver. I agree. I think his talent is there. I think his eyes are better. I think his hands are better. I think that Isaiah McKenzie has benefited from opportunity when he can. But if there's going to be opportunity there, I think Josh Allen is going to be going for Shakir as opposed to McKenzie. So, yeah, I definitely believe that world exists.
Before you lose your damn mind and fall out of your chair and come for me on Twitter, like we do every single week, to be clear.
We come for each other on Twitter, so it's okay.
If you're looking, Isaiah McKenzie's a pure slot receiver. Now, I compared and I said similar skill set. He is not. Chill out. There's a lot of these things that could happen. But skill set, if you're looking for this draft class true next Deebo Samuel, it was Kahlil Shakir. Because slot work, but can run out of the backfield, can get downfield for passes. And McKenzie, if he goes downfield, it's basically like a go route. I think Shakir brings more to the table. And that's why, if he's out there, I will stash. Maybe McKenzie comes back and Shakir's just not even a thing for the rest of the year. But because of the potential, if you're talking player versus player, I'm taking Shakir. I was always taking Shakir. I wasn't drafting Shakir, to be clear. I'm not taking that as a victory lap. This isn't whatever. But that being said, I'm with you. If they're both out there, I would still go grab Shakir, even though it might look reactionary. It's because I believe he's the better player.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And even if you just take away the data and the stats, as you know, I mentioned those two words before, but they're important for us as analysts because we need something behind what our eyeballs tell us and what our gut tells us. But there is something to the eyeball test. And when you watch Kahlil Shakir play, there's something very dynamic and what, like you said, what he brings to the table. It very much is. And I don't necessarily see that, but I can understand it if we're looking at a player-to-player statistical analysis of it. But when you watch him play, you can see potential there that Isaiah McKenzie does not have. Not that I'm saying Isaiah McKenzie is a bad player. He's in the NFL.
No.
I just think there's a different dynamic that he can bring to the table. I like it. I like it. Right. I very much like it. And I think that is just one of the coolest pieces. The embarrassment of riches that the Buffalo Bills have is now they have someone like Kahlil Shakir to come in and just like smack people upside the head. Like, go figure.
It's true. So similar in situations because both of theirs might be temporary, but one might be less temporarily, whatever it might be. So we have the Dales, Rondale and Wandale. Rondale Moore's looked good. He's already passed A.J. Green, but DeAndre Hopkins is 1 week. He's coming back. And it's let's be real. DeAndre Hopkins, Marquise Brown. Hell, it might even be Marquise Brown then DeAndre Hopkins at this point, and then Rondale. Wandale, for everybody out there that somebody has to catch the ball for the Giants. Not true, but here's the thing. Kenny Golladay, if comes back, they still keep giving him chances. They keep doing it, keep doing it. And forget about Kadarius Toney. The dude's just not going to play.
No, he's not. Thank you.
Hurt hamstring. Oh, by the way, let's hurt the other hamstring.
Yeah, and then hurt ego. I mean, you name it.
Oh, the team doesn't like him.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I was saying before. That's why I will not touch Kadarius Toney.
You put a heart up. Are you taking Wandale over Rondale?
Yes. What he was able to show in the very early part of the season before he got injured was exciting. So, and I really like what that team is doing moving forward. So yeah, I want a little piece of that. And I'm not touching Golladay. I'm not touching Kadarius Toney, which I have not believed in since last year.
Do you know how bad? Here's a perfect example of how bad the Giants situation is. Game day activation of Marcus Johnson. He was the second most used wide receiver and opportunities.
It's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And Sterling Shepard, bless you. But yeah. No,
oh my God.
I'm going to take Wandale.
All right. Do you have any problems with dropping Allen Robinson at this point?
Nope. Okay. I didn't have any problem dropping him last week either. It was like, no, shed a tear. Now it's like, yeah, you're dead to me.
Unfortunately, do you know, by the way, 107 yards on the season. 107 yards. That's what he has. It is.
It hurts my soul.
It feels like it's more
for him this year.
Everybody was. The entire fantasy world was excited for him. I'll podcast out there myself, and somebody's like, "Hey, you have him too low," and I was like, "Have Allen Robinson too low? What?" Like we were all excited. Like everybody was. That's got to be one of the bigger disappointments. That entire team's a disappointment. Good thing Cooper Kupp is there because we get one shining light out of that. Oh, I guess Tyler Higbee. So before we get out of here, concerns. I brought in Lamar Jackson for quarterback. It's hard to have too many concerns about quarterbacks and everything like that, but the reason I did Lamar Jackson is 'cause it's 2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row, Lamar Jackson's kind of looked like the, at times, quarterback from last year, Lamar Jackson. Not multiple touchdowns. We can kind of give a pass for the one game for the weather, but last week was kind of frustrating, especially in a game we thought would be a shootout. Here's what I said, Lawrence. People don't even realize this, and this is why I made a random. It's not going to pay off at this point, mostly because of the Bengals, but I did a 2-team parlay for a free bet of $10 that turns into I think $13,000 if the Cavaliers and the Bengals win. So the Bengals win the Super Bowl, the Cavaliers win the NBA championship, because as soon as they made that trade is why I did it. It's like, let's go team Cleveland, Cincinnati, Ohio, yay! But that being said, part of the reason I was on Cincinnati is because I think people are underestimating their defense. And their pass defense has been really good this year. And I think Rashad Bateman versus Duvernay does more than people expect for the quality of this offense. Are you concerned about Lamar Jackson?
Not at all. Okay.
So 0 ducks or
zero ducks? I'm at the pond feeding the ducks bread.
Okay. Okay. James Robinson was making us all go well, Cam Akers should be good. Look at James Robinson coming back from the Achilles. Here's the concerning part about James Robinson. 2 weeks in a row. Snap count. It's going down big time. And I mean big time. He's down to like the 40s now. Again, 2 weeks in a row, weather, you can kind of throw it out the window. But last week's game, where they seem to, this is what I said in the article, the Jaguars seem to like galaxy brain themselves in that game against Houston. It's like we always lose to Houston, so let's be tricky and just kind of throw everything out the window and do something that's not been
exactly what I was going to say.
A brand new game that we've never run before. But that being said, Travis Etienne went off in that game, and James Robinson another kind of game. How many ducks are you giving James Robinson at this point?
One.
Just one.
Just one. I'm not that worried. One of the things I did see part of that game, but I want to go back and watch and take a little bit closer look at exactly what they were doing in that game. And then I may change my mind.
I don't think they know.
Next week. I don't think so either. And that's why I don't have as much concern for James Robinson himself. The concern here is with Doug Peterson. So I want to kind of get a feel for what that game really entailed in between the 20s so that I can better gauge that. But from what I saw, which wasn't much, because I watched the Red Zone all day Sunday, that's what I'm writing, it wasn't pretty. So I don't put that on James Robinson. I put that on a weird matchup and a weird, I don't even know what it is, weird mentality, like weird thought process, weird game plan.
So here's what I'll say. I'm giving him 2.5 because the ETN has been going up for 4 straight weeks, 37, 44, 52,
ETN
53.
will probably have like 4 targets. And
well, so that's why I give him 2.5 because I think it's
so
going to be a
annoying.
50-50 split. That's why.
And,
so
but we knew that's what it was going to be with Doug Peterson, though. To be fair, I did anyway.
But it wasn't to start the year, which is why people are concerned. It was you forget James Robinson had 25 and 20.
Needed a little bit of time to get his NFL legs underneath him.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I love that phrase.
So sticking with the same team, Christian Kirk, his first really dud of a game is actually his first game without at least 20% of the target share.
Chalking that up to
the same thing.
Weirdness. I can't let just one game flush down that trend all the way down the toilet. I can't do it. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. I 100% get that, as we all are with our fantasy takes. These are gut calls. They're based in data, whatever you want to do. I can't just overreact to one game that just was weird across the board. It was strange. So I kind of want to just wipe my hands of it and be like, okay, let's see what next week brings. And then we can freak out if things start getting worse.
So quick one before we get out of here. Last one. Make sure you're checking out FTN code OLN. Get you 20% off The Athletic. Go check the links, and some kind of discount will be specially applied somehow, somewhere. Kind of like Amazon Prime Day. Who the hell knows what you're going to get? Last one. Wide receiver. Drake London. So 3 for 54, 2 for 17, 4 for 35. Lauren, let's see if you give more or less, because I said this is going to be annoying. This will kind of give you a hint of where I was going. Annoying until Desmond Ridder gets under center, which might not happen because the Falcons are just kind of falconing along. How many ducks are you giving Drake London?
I've got 3 for Drake London, only because
and
of
an
the
egg.
nature.
That's what I gave him. 3 and an egg.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I was gonna do 2 and an egg, but I'm gonna go ahead and birth that third duck there. But at the same time, I almost don't want to do that because that is the nature of the position that he plays with Marcus Mariota. So we all should have known that going into the season. So I'm not surprised by it. I'm also not that concerned because London is incredibly talented, but he is literally at the mercy of whatever Marcus Mariota can do. And I mean, I understand that's kind of football because he's a wide receiver, and that's what happens when a quarterback throws you the football. Believe me, I understand. But when the game is on the line and it's Drake London or bust, it's more bust right now with Marcus Mariota, and it stinks.
So what's not a bust is following the advice of Lauren and myself at Stepmom Lauren at All In Kid. Although if you have Cam Akers and Allen Robinson, you probably hate me. But hey, a lot of people
hate me too. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's the world I live in. We'll be back tomorrow for week 6. Reminder: 4-team bye week. It's starting to get here. The buys are happening. Hopefully you get through it. Hopefully you're still winning games and like on the winning side of things. So we'll see you tomorrow. I know I did it. I'm Ron Burgundy.